G'day folks, welcome to the weekend review of natural gas and the ETFs. And you can see here, natural gas, Boyle and UNG have dropped slightly since our last update, and KOLD has risen. This is our heat map, and again on the top right here you can see there on the monthly, weekly and daily based on the CCI 150 trends. We're neutral overall on most of them except for UNG, it's short, predominantly bullish on the weekly and predominantly bearish on the daily. Now, in terms of a trading strategy, I'm using the CCI 150, and the step one is we always trade in the higher time frame. So if you're trading on the daily, we trade in the direction of the weekly, or if you're trading on the intraday, we trade in the direction of the daily as a minimum. Step two, we look at entering the trade when the CCI 150 has a fresh breakout from the moving averages. And step three, we close out the trade when the CCI 150 moves back into those moving averages. Now, the logic or the method to draw those indicators and follow it in more detail is added in the description below, so just reference that to get further information on that. First we'll look at natural gas, and again looking at the indicator down here, it's broken into the moving average range, giving us a neutral signal on the monthly. On the weekly it's above that moving average range, so giving us a bullish signal, and on the daily it's actually broken down through that moving average range, giving us a bearish signal. So again, we don't know where this is going to stop. We generally use Fibonacci's to determine potential stops or support or resistance areas. If I go to the hourly chart, and I've got the daily here as a reference, so again we predominantly go, if you're trading on the hourly or the smaller time frame, we predominantly trade in the direction of the CCI, so in this case it's broken below the moving average range, so we take only short positions. So if I put up this, I've got these little indicators I've added here, so going short for example, you can see there from that peak, that would have been the start when it entered that moving average range. Potentially, you can start getting ready to enter short trades. And you can see there from that point would have been your first entry when it broke below the moving average range of the price, but also below on the CCI 150. And that's giving us an entry signal there. And again, notice that's the start of that break below the moving average range there. So it would have generated 6 points from that little drop there because it broke up and entered into the moving average range. And then you enter again another round, and you can see there it generated another 8 points there. And again, you would have exited with the price breaking up through those moving average range. Also notice we've got a bullish divergence here, higher lows on the CCI versus lower lows on the price. That's giving us a bullish signal. And again, for those new to the channel, we look at Fibonacci retracement at a minimum of 23 to the 38% level. And that's where I've drawn that rectangle. So the minimum target range is between the 23 and the 38% level if you go back to the previous Fibonacci range before the divergence started. So at the moment, cautiously going, in this case, short only, even though the price is broken above on the hourly chart, we only trade in the direction of the daily, so you only take short positions at the moment. And if I, just as a reference, if I go back and show you the bullish signals, so for example back here when that was going long, you would have taken those long trades at each of those points, and it's a bit hard to read the points generated, but you can see there that one generated 69 points, 147. That would have been a loss. That would have generated 5, 4, 40, minus 13, and so on. So again, only trade on the hourly in the direction when the daily is moving in the same direction. Next we look at BOIL. On the monthly, there's no indicator, so we're going to consider that as a neutral positioning, or at the very least neutral, if not bearish. On the weekly, we've got a bullish divergence down here on a CCI versus lower lows on the price, and that CCI is still rising, so we're going to consider that as a bullish movement. And it's made a small bounce, but although there's a couple of bearish candles on the weekly there, and on the daily we've also got or at least had a bullish divergence, higher lows, and that's still rising versus lower lows on the price, and that actually hit this support at 1346, made a bounce, hit that resistance at 2469, and now retracing back down. And notice on the daily as well, it's actually broken below the moving average range. Go to the hourly chart on BOIL. Again, it's declined since our last update. On the daily chart, it's broken below the moving average range, so only short trades to be taken. And again, if I put in those candles where it's broken below the price of the moving averages and also the CCI moving averages, you would have taken a short trade there, and you'd still be in the trade today if you were trading Boyle going short. And again, going long during that period, just to quickly demonstrate, you would have started going long during that period back there, and that would have been, these periods back here would have gone long during that little period. I won't go back too far, but you get the idea. That would have been a small loss. That would have been a gain, a small loss, and this one would have been a nice little gain, $362. And then that one would have been a loss because it broke down quite savagely on that little point there. So notice also during these periods there's bearish divergence, lower highs versus higher highs on the price. So you've got to take heed of those, and you would not have entered that trade or closed out the trade quickly if you saw that happening. And there was another bearish divergence here versus high highs on the price before it shot off down to the downside pretty quickly. So KOLD, again, that was no indicator showing on the monthly. On the weekly, it's showing a neutral positioning. Notice we had a move to the upside. It broke up and showing us bullish signal for most of those months, most of those periods during the weekly. Then it had a bit of a bearish signal to the downside last week, and this week so far, or the previous week was bearish, and this week so far it's neutral. It's within that, it's hard to read, but it's within that neutral moving average band. On the daily, it's been declining for a number of months now, and we've had a bounce into this neutral range, and it's actually finally broken to the upside above that moving average range, giving us a bullish signal. So again, if we jump to the hourly chart, again, only going long. So if you're going long during this period, notice we also had a bullish divergence on the hourly chart versus lower lows on the price, and it actually bounced quite nicely. You would have taken a long position at that point, and you'd still be in a trade if you're going long on KOLD. Only because, remember, when it's broken above on the moving average range of the daily. So don't trade these unless you see in the same direction as the daily. And again, demonstrating the short positions during this period when it was declining. You would have taken those short positions. A few would have been a few losses in there, but that would have been a nice little gain of $11.92 of that decline there. Lastly, looking at UNG, again, this is still bearish. The CCI is below the moving average band on the monthly. On the weekly, we've got a very slight bullish movement on the CCI versus lower lows on the price, and has actually bounced up from there. In the last few weeks, it's been bullish, although we've had a couple of bearish candles in the last couple of weeks. And on the daily, it was bullish during that period. Again, when the weekly was bullish, but it's finally broken to the downside and giving us a bearish signal on the daily. And going to the hourly chart, again, I'll just demonstrate again, we're going short only. So at the moment, it's broken to the downside. There's no divergence. If I give you a bearish signal, again, you would have entered short there because the price is below the moving average band, and so is the CCI, and that's giving us a bearish signal, and possibly very close to closing it out soon, but you can see there that's still declining on the hourly time frame. By the way, this works if you apply these indicators to almost any time frame. It works as long as you trade in the direction of the daily.